Christi here with Little Salty Homesteader. Welcome back to my YouTube channel and welcome out into my garden. Now, I hurt my back this morning, so I'm going to be sitting down for this video, but what I wanted to talk to you about was the varieties that I'm not going to be growing in my summer garden next year. Typically, I am pretty free-for-all when it comes to my garden. I want to try to grow it all, I want to try to eat it all, cook it all, preserve it all. Basically, if it exists, I want to attempt to grow it in terms of the vegetables. But there were some varieties that I grew this year that I'm not going to put into my garden next year for various different reasons. So the first one is going to be violet sparkle peppers. And the reason that I'm not going to grow this is even though the peppers are really beautiful, they turn from this yellow to a purple and then ripen onto red. The flavor just was not there for us. We typically like spicy peppers more than we like sweet ones, so the sweet ones that I am going to grow need to serve some sort of purpose, whether I'm going to turn them into paprika or I use them for fajitas or I pickle them, whatever the case may be, and violet sparkle just didn't fit those needs for us. So not gonna grow that one. The next variety is going to be surprising for some of y'all if you followed my channel for very long at all, but I do have a reason for it, and that is going to be the Alabama red okra. I know, shocker, because I love okra. But this is like a short, squatty, fat variety, and here we prefer the long, skinny ones. They're more versatile. They can grow bigger before they get woody, and the texture is just overall better. They pickle in a better way. So many different reasons why we prefer the long, skinny ones. The plant, the Alabama red plant, is also not as prolific as all of the other ones that are currently still growing in my garden. So I'd rather grow the okra that we enjoy and we get large harvests from. The next couple are going to be tomatoes, different tomato types, and the first one is going to be giant crimson. Now this one grew really well for me in 2023. This one was actually one of the ones that the rat issue that I had in 2023 did not affect production. But this year I only harvested one single tomato from the entire plant. It also got sick really early and I ended up cutting it down in very early to mid-June after harvesting that one single tomato. So also I'm out of seeds for this one. This one, if you're unaware of the history of it, was brought back from extinction from Luke Marion at In My Gardener. He found the seeds in his grandfather's shadow box that was like 80 years old, brought them back, grew enough to be able to sell the seeds, and he sold very limited quantities, and I am all out of that limited quantity, and I'm not going to purchase more at this time because I would like to just try a variety that I haven't grown yet for now. I may revisit giant crimson in the future simply because it did do so well for me in 2023. I think maybe this year was a fluke year, weird weather, insect pressure came early, so many different reasons. So yeah, for now, taking a break on that one, and may revisit it in the future. The next one is going to be Japanese black truffle tomato. Now the tomatoes on this are really beautiful, but the plant was not prolific enough to warrant me giving it space within the garden. It is also a spider mite magnet. It was one of the very first tomato plants that I had that got spider mites, and it was so hard to battle them on that particular plant that I don't have enough patience to continue to fight that battle in future years. So I'm not gonna grow that one again. So the next thing that I'm not going to grow in my summer garden next year is going to be the African type marigolds. They are so tall and so gangly, the wind knocks them over and then they end up growing sideways out into my walkways, making it difficult to get through the different raised beds and around my yard and stuff. They also get really leggy and gnarly looking, and as they grow older, and so they're just not as attractive as the smaller French types. So I'm just going to stick with those French ones next year. The next variety is going to be the Hungarian hot wax pepper. The plants themselves don't produce enough at one time for preserving, and we aren't a fan of them raw or any other way. So I grew them in order to pickle them so that I could have you know, kind of like a spicy-ish pickled pepper, but it didn't work out this year. I'd rather devote the space to something that we will eat fresh and preserved, like jalapenos and serranos, so I'm not going to grow that next year. The next variety that I'm not going to grow next summer is going to be the mushroom pepper. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with this pepper at all. It is gangbusters at producing. It's mega prolific. I haven't had pest issues, disease issues, anything. In terms of like the perfect pepper plant, this one would probably be it, except I don't know what to do with it. I've just been like dehydrating it and crushing it up to use as crushed red pepper, but there are much better pepper types that are more suited for that use. Like cayenne, even the serrano, if you ripen it and dry it and grind it, it makes great crushed red pepper. So I would rather devote that space to something that is multi-use for us. Jalapenos, serranos, cayennes, those things that we can use fresh and preserve in all different types of ways. So mushroom pepper, super awesome and fun to grow. I just don't know how to use it, and that's my fault, not the plant's fault. There are a few varieties that I'm undecided about if I want to grow them or not next year. And the first one is going to be the Rebel Starfighter Prime Tomato. If you don't know this about me, I'm a huge nerd and I love Star Wars. So the idea of growing Star Wars tomatoes was mega appealing to me, and it makes me just absolutely giddy. I also have gotten seeds through a seed swap for two other Star Wars tomatoes, the Darth Vader and the Rebel Alliance tomato. So I can try more Star Wars tomatoes, and that's part of the reason why I'm undecided on the Rebel Starfighter Prime. So Rebel Starfighter Prime was like a really wispy plant. You know, like so many of the other ones are really leafy and bushy, and this one was just like kind of sparsely populated with leaves and things. So it was really wispy, and it also got diseased really early on. Now the fruits from it were incredibly beautiful and really delicious. So the flavor of the tomatoes almost kind of warrants me giving them the space because they were so good. But because they got sick early, I'm also like, I don't know. But the idea of having like a Star Wars garden also sounds kind of cool, so I may try them again. Like I said, super undecided on that one, obviously. The next one that I am undecided about is sweet banana peppers. So if you want to feel like a really good gardener, like you can grow anything, grow a banana pepper plant. That is the most prolific plant I have ever seen in my entire life. There were so many peppers for several months. I made several pints of pickled peppers. I gave peppers away. I had peppers go bad that I didn't use or preserve in time. I mean, there were peppers running out of my ears. The reason why I'm undecided on that basically boils down to how many of those pickled peppers we'll be able to eat before it's time to start pepper seeds again, to determine, you know, if I need to grow them again. I don't know what that noise is. Because they were so prolific, because I have so many jars of pickled peppers in there. I think I have a good 8 pints that have not been given away. There's some set back that I'm going to give as gifts. So I have so many pickled banana peppers that unless we magically get this wild craving for pickled banana peppers that lasts for several months, I don't see the need to grow them next year. it's not a permanent they're out of my garden. It's just I don't think I'm gonna need them, but we'll see. Maybe I'll surprise myself and we'll eat a whole bunch of them. So undecided on that one. The last one that I am undecided about is the rest of the larger beefsteak and oxheart tomatoes that I grew this season. Now it's really fun to grow really big tomatoes because there's something so satisfying about going out and harvesting a tomato that weighs over a pound, and you bring in this giant thing and you say, look what I grew. But because Texas gets so hot so quickly, those big large varieties, you typically only get a few off of the plant before it is too hot for them to produce. The smaller varieties do much better in Texas. They handle the heat a whole lot better. But that joy of those giant tomatoes really is something to behold. So I haven't convinced myself one way or the other, but I do have so many different new varieties that I have received as gifts, and then of course with the Haas Tools order, that I kind of need to figure that out quickly so that I can kind of work on that plan for next year and figure out where I'm going to plant all of the tomatoes. Because if it were up to me, I would grow every tomato variety that I could. I mean, obviously it is up to me, but if I had unlimited space, I would grow every single tomato variety in existence because I do love tomatoes. But I kind of have to make the executive decision of production compared to the level of space that one single tomato plant requires. It's kind of a relatively short list. I do, like I said, I like to try to grow anything and everything in my summer garden that I possibly can, and I will try to grow many things several times before I give up on them. Like zucchini, I try it every year and one day I'll have success at it, but I'm going to keep trying. But if you guys have already figured out the stuff in your summer garden that you're not going to grow again next year, go ahead and comment below. I'm sure that other people have struggled with one or more of these plants that I listed, or you know, they have the same issue that I do where it was so prolific they don't know what to do with it. Comment those varieties down below that you don't think that you're going to grow in your summer garden next year. But until next time, go find a way to get those garden manicures. Bye.